Hello, everyone, and welcome to Moonride, where we're channeling the man in the moon. I'm getting a real Mary, Mother of God feeling. Let me show you guys something funny. If you see, maybe it's a little dark and you can't see it, but this painting right here, right there, okay, above my door, is actually Mary. I'll tell you, before I had any inclination to read for her, I just bought it for the frame. I often go to auctions and just buy things for the frame because it's so much cheaper. So, over time, of course, I had this in my basement. I'm like, maybe I ought to bring this up. And the more I worked with Mary, the more I became interested. And I am not at all interested in the religious doctrines about this person. That is to me largely irrelevant. I don't believe in this idea of putting women in some kind of place where they have to be these perfect virgins or anything like that. I think that's just completely misrepresentative of Mary. I don't think that she was like that anyway. My feeling when I encounter her is very much like a good and kind and very tolerant parent, full of love, not judgmental, a very understanding. That's a similar to feelings that I have with Christ when I have encountered him. No judgment. There God is, this heaven is not some exclusive club where only certain people get in. That's just ridiculous, right? That is power. That's just the people wanting power to control you and let you know who is holy enough. All of us have choices in life. That's all. Anyone who says thou shalt not is a liar, right? A real and true spirit would just say, look, you have two choices. One of them has this going on, one of them has that going on. You have the free will. It is up to each one of us to decide what is right, not up to some intermediate power that somehow magically knows. Right? So if you go to Mary, don't go to the hierarchy. Let's see, Mary, what can you tell us? I also just feel really calm when I'm there, and I think there's just something really restful about the divine feminine. I really recommend everyone that when you do your meditations, don't go to any specific religious personality. If it feels too much like a cultural or religious norm, I don't feel that that is totally productive. It can be, but often it is not. But it is a great idea to just sit down there and just go to Divine Feminine. That could look like the heart of Africa. It could look like a beautiful African savanna for you. It could look like, Italy. It doesn't really matter. What is the Divine Feminine for you? How does it show up and realize that it's so huge that it takes a form that we understand so that we can relate to it. It's not fixed and always wearing blue, and I really don't care what race the divine feminine comes to you as. It's all the divine feminine if it feels right. Oh my gosh, it just completely started to storm and rain outside, you guys. um, so that's really loud. Okay, thanks for the confirmation, Mary. Or I should say, thanks for the confirmation, divine feminine. Feel how the rain is falling on the earth. She's, the earth doesn't exist without the rain. It's a killer combination there. It's really loud. Can you guys hear it? Turn up my volume here. Wow. You can't believe how it's like a veil out there. I can barely see out the window. Well, okay. So I'm just actually going to kind of let her enter me. Mm, really very far out into sort of outer space now. Mm, great. Okay, just great. When you do this work, it's okay to just to go there and notice the feelings. How do you feel when you do that? Does it feel good? I mean, it should feel good. If it feels something wonky, I would undo it. It's not correct. It's not the right place. Back up and burn some sage. Do it again if it doesn't feel good. Mm. Wow, it's funny. She's kind of pouring tea. It's not like I'm with her out in space and she's pouring tea and we're sort of drinking it and it's like taking the nourishment. And I'm not a big tea drinker, but it's a nourishing thing. It's a caffeine, but it's also one of those things that often it's caffeine, but it's one of those things that actually does benefit your body. Coffee, not so much. It's just a stimulant. But this tea seems like, hey, let's go out and get nourished. One thing is also, tea is something you do at home. I imagine a lot of you watching are like me, you're just stuck at home for what seems like an eternity. Why are we being stuck at home in this way? It's not just punishment. There's something that we need to connect with here. And what we need to connect with here is, just home, the hearth and the home. We need to connect with the sort of organic and natural things that happen. And one kind of piece of advice that comes through is if you have any way to plant anything, especially food, now's the time. And first of all, it'll benefit everybody. You know, it's sort of like if you've ever read Voltaire's Candide. He at certain points just says, all I can do is feed others. Maybe I can't solve the world's problem, but at least I can benefit the planet by cultivating my garden. And that's one way to look at this. There are going to be certain food shortages in the moment. It's very frightening, but we could benefit that by just growing something, whatever it is, and maybe trading with our neighbors. We'll be sort of getting off the capitalist track and moving a little bit more towards a more communal life. But as we move in this direction, also remember it's just getting your hands in the dirt. Just that relationship of the dirt, just that going back and saying, well, that didn't grow very well, but this did. What could I do? And there's a sort of sensory experience of working with the earth and growing something that will be beneficial if you have that available to you. If it's only just a box, maybe a box out your window, then you can go to that and maybe even just plant flowers. If you can't grow anything, that does bring a lot of beauty and a lot of joy, and it's still learning. Why did these plants grow and these plants did not grow? Why did this flower bloom so well here? Is it the climate? Is it the kind of dirt? All those things. This is how our ancestors lived, right? They had to plant and grow things and be in a relationship to the planet. They had to share knowledge with their neighbors. They had to perhaps exchange. They had to be in relationship with the land. They couldn't make the land grow one particular thing. They had to exist with the land and its capacity for growth. This seems very important. Also, that just your hands in the dirt are going to bring you back to the earth and help put your feet on the ground in this time. Okay, she's just kind of interestingly enough showing me a bullseye and we're hitting it, so I guess I got that one right. So what else can we do right now? Just not a bad idea to go to this place and feel soothed. Create some kind of ritual for yourself which is going to be soothing. And don't make the meditation all about work, 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 and I have to do it in this way. Maybe you just go there and experience a feeling and just experience comfort. And you can even ask whatever is representative of comfort to you to come and sort of help heal you. Again, it should only feel good. It should feel better than neutral. All of these domestic things that you're doing, I just see people sewing. I don't really crochet or anything, but there's something very simple and very organic and homely and, I should say homely, homey about what we're doing and that sort of, it's cleaning, how boring. But, maybe this sort of knitting and making stuff and, going back to, in some ways, the way our grandparents, great-grandparents lived, it's sort of bringing us back to the practicalities of the earth. We're saving, we're not wasting stuff, we're not going and buying thousands of pieces of clothing. We're just maybe even sewing a hole in some clothing. I really encourage you to take some of this time, and don't beat yourself up if you don't do everything, but just do a few of those domestic things that you put off for a long time, like, and hopefully stuff that's a little bit more than cleaning. Sew the button, clean the shirt, reuse things, get in touch with that sort of, this old homey sweater that I used to wear all the time. Maybe I'm going to fix it and wear it some more. You notice how that's not so, it's not about acquiring stuff. It's about the touch of the material. This will give you some consolation. And it's a small thing, but it does really help the world that we're not buying 10,000 pieces of clothing. It really does also seem like, I'm not against fashion or anything, I'm wearing my cool new shirt, but, do we really need a whole new suit of clothes every season? Do we need all that stuff? What could we reuse? So I have still have my funky COVID-19 haircut. It's gotten a little bit better, but I realized, wow, I spent a lot of money on haircuts, and I actually, I'm kind of proud of my funky haircut in the sense of, as I'm walking the street, people look at the dinks in my hair and they're like, hey, that guy's quarantining. He's clearly quarantining. So, it's all well and good to look at the TV and criticize people who are not quarantining and who are doing the wrong thing. Let's take it back a step and go, well, okay, do I really need, to what degree am I being like those people and being so, selfish and self-involved and me, and I want? It makes me think of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, where she says, I want a Oompa Loompa too, Daddy. Veruca Salt, if you remember that character, she just wants things because she wants them. And, how much, to what degree, some degree, we're all like that. But let's just be a little bit more aware and a little bit more formed and just a little bit more, is that really important? What is important? And what is important for you? And as we go back to the family, go back to the earth, go back to the home, go back to the friends, what's there for us? Also, she says, look at family pictures, if that gives you some consolation. Look at those people who have gone to the earth and moved on in their consciousness. What is the meaning of those people? What did they go through? Recently, I've looked at some pictures of people who lived through the Depression, some family members, and they really, really suffered, and they really worked hard, and I just can't help but thinking, wow, it's kind of like 1929 all over again. And we can approach this in a certain way with respect to people before us who managed psychologically to make it through. I mean, some of my family members barely made it, but they made it. And although it was horrible, the 1930s, people shared more. There was much more communal living. There was much more empathy. I know somebody whose rich grandmother said she refused to work in the 1930s because she didn't want to take a job away from someone who really needed it. Right? She was a wealthy woman and she just didn't need that job, so she absolutely refused to do any kind of work. She paid everybody because they had enough. So, where are the days when a really wealthy person gives up money, gives up career, just for the sake of others? Where are those days? Where are those people who have that kind of responsibility to those in their culture? And those outside their culture, just in general. And Mary, is there anything else you'd like to say? Just sending lots of love. Look, this sort of divine feminine is available to everybody. When you find yourself yelling at the TV, getting so angry, what you're really getting angry at is this politicking, this sort of hyper, let's say, I don't know if it's fair to say hyper masculine, but that might be a way to understand it. This politicking, it's pure politics. It's like you know, nothing is attached to benefiting others. It's just benefiting oneself. It's this very politic, and I mean, I do this too. I just rage at the television sometimes. And that's going to really break you if you come back out of it and go, yeah, sure, but this is all temporary. Okay, Earth isn't going away. Divine feminine isn't going to go away. Even if we blow it up, it'll still be there, and we'll all evolve as cockroaches. But that will still be the Earth, right? Go to the Earth when you can. Go to Spirit when you can, and ask. Try to give yourself enough to balance things out. This could take the form of dinner. It could take the form of making some food that everybody really, really likes and sharing it, and family jokes. Can you move in that direction just a little bit in this time of real stress? You probably get to know people now in a way that you never got to know them. And I mean, if you're alone and you just have a pet, you're going to get to know them the way that you never did. You rely on them the way that you never did. If you're on your own, nothing wrong with that. You get to know yourself in a way that's very profound and deep. And it could be a little bit rocky sometimes. Go to this healing place. You're going to need it. Go to the healing place, and however that looks to you, set up an own space in your house where you get to do that, and just meditate, and maybe take a bath with rose petals, whatever is good for you. Go to the healing place. This is a time that this is going to be needed. And while you're there, do your best not to worry, right? You can worry later on, but while you're in that space, you're just dismiss worry, right? Just to say, I'm going to worry about that later. I'm not going to worry about that right now. Right now, I'm just going to feel the healing. And, when you do it, really call forth healing, call forth whatever is, whatever symbols or images that contain that for you. It could be anything, right? It could be absolutely anything. There's nothing wrong with any symbol that you bring up. The only thing that could possibly go wrong is while you're doing this, if you kind of summon dark energy, and that you will know by putting it in your heart. If it doesn't feel good to you, then stop, resage or redo or start over or get out of the bath, and then just again ask. I only want the highest good right now. I only want the best healing right now. I only want the light. And when you get to, if you do see some character, ask, are you from the light? You can ask a couple of times. And you can also ask the divine, the positive forces, to prove it. And say, hey, I'm sorry, I really need to know you're on my team here. And you can say over and over again, only the highest good may enter, only the highest light may enter, only fifth dimensional beings or higher may enter. And just ask and ask. And ask them also to show me something that makes me trust you. Sorry for asking, but show me something that makes me trust you. It might be a weird random thing, but see how you feel about it. And if you feel, some people are very, very rational, so they might feel kind of neutral, like, come on, I'm fooling myself, this is just imagination. That's okay. But if it feels a little bit mischievous, if it keeps changing its form, it's not the right one for you. And you can just dismiss and ask again. All right? Thanks so much for watching.